Meeting to order. Start with a prayer and a pledge. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us together to do your will and the will of those that benefits those of this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, roll call, please.
Mr. Powell.
Here.
Mr. Bronner.
Here.
Mr. Bishop.
Here.
Mr. Boehner.
Here.
Mr. Tommen.
Here.
Mrs. Kroger. Here. Mrs. Edichico. Here.
7 present. We have quorum for business and for legislation.
Technical difficulties.
Row.
It's on. I think it's on.
Okay.
Mark's here.
So the next up is approval of minutes from the July 5th meeting. I haven't seen a copy of the minutes unless they didn't get to my email. Unless that was actually
Went
2
out
weeks
that
ago.
night.
They went out that night. You're right. They did. Okay. You're right. I did see it. Did everybody else see it?
Yeah.
That was so quick I didn't remember I saw it.
Motion,
All right.
motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt by Mr. Boehner, second by Mr. Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried by voice vote. Okay, now we're going to open the public hearing for the 2023 budget. Press the little button.
No, I mean, the cord keeps coming out.
I know, but push the little button. Yeah, that way it won't make noise. Okay, 2023 budget. So that came out of the budget committee, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So who wants to kick that off? Let's see, who's budget committee? I don't remember.
Finance.
Finance committee.
I think it was pretty straightforward. I think we raised everything by 2 percentage points, and didn't necessarily account for inflation, but we've got some other financial things that are happening, and I think Bo did Patrick leave some notes for you.
Yeah, he left some notes if you want me to read them.
Go ahead. We need to hear it.
You know, I only glanced once. Patrick, general fund revenue, real estate taxes saw an increase in revenue in 2021, and we're projecting minimal increases for this year in 2023. The local government's funds are projected to be relatively even. Charges for services decreased due to less Bureau of Workmen Compensation refunds. Income tax transfers projected to increase from 2021 for this year. There is a balance in the tax fund, and we're projected to have one starting 2023. We've been blessed there again with COVID revenues and Bureau of Workmen Comp, Bureau of Workmen Comp, and also some of the right-of-way money that we received. So anyway, total revenue projected to increase by about 3% for 2023. For general fund expenses, the largest general fund expense is on personnel and related fringes, insurance, pension, BWC, et cetera. This accounts for about 85% of all our expenditures, our people here, and that's just the way it is and the way it should be. We're projecting approximately a 2.6% increase per year in the general fund and expenses. You know, it takes in raises it takes into account spending increases on personnel and operations. And then non-general fund notes, the street maintenance fund revenue comes from the gasoline tax, which has increased over the past 2 years. Expenditures include public works employees, I believe 4, a couple of items such as trucks, public work operation expenses, and part of the road salt that we use. The state highway is funded from taxes from Reading Road. We use this to purchase a portion of road salt. The tax fund projects small increases there. This funds, the funds from the tax department are transferred to the general fund, and also includes refunds and treasurer's office expenses. The motor vehicle license revenue comes from vehicle licenses and is used primarily for engineering. Streets and curbs fund revenue comes from the portion of the 0.5% earnings tax increase when we increased our earnings tax by 0.5% in 2006 by law on the ballot. 20% goes to a streets and curbs fund. It's helped us tremendously, by the way. The capital fund, the 340 fund, revenue comes from property taxes. Expenditures have included bond payments, loan payments, and police vehicle purchases. Also things for our service department out of that fund. Our final payment on the Reading Road streetscape will be in 2023. After that, the only known expenditures will be on police cruisers for about $80,000 to $90,000 a year, 2 police cruisers. The fire EMS fund revenue comes from EMS billing. Expenditures primarily are for purchase of fire trucks and ambulances and a small portion of EMS operations. And again, we all know how expensive fire trucks and ambulances are these days. The water fund revenue comes from water billing, used for water operations, water employees, paying Greater Cincinnati Water Works for the purchase of wholesale water. The sewer fund revenue and expenditures are for MSD sewer billing. The sewer service fee fund revenue comes from our fee for collecting MSD's sewer bills. We do not have any set expenditures to come from the sewer service fee fund, but in the past it's been used for a variety of things, one such big item being retirement payments. So, and if anybody ever looks at our retirement fund, you'd understand why we use sewer service fee for that. The retirement fund has never been funded very well in my years as elected official, so.
Does Carla have a copy of that?
I do not know. If she doesn't, I'll
Do you have a
get her
copy of that?
one. I will get you one.
Thank you.
Just what you needed, huh?
Okay. Any questions for the mayor from what he read? Really?
Yeah, Patrick said he hadn't heard anything from anybody in the last couple weeks here, other than talking to Andy.
Okay.
So anyway.
I had one question. I didn't bring my copy with me, but there's a pretty significant increase in the budget there. What's the confidence level that can be covered?
You know something, some of the big increases, again, in what, the last 5-6 years, we've become Arlington Heights Police Department. That's $300,000 a year, but we also receive money for that. We've become Amberley's EMS Department. Money comes, payments for that. So, yeah, we feel very confident in that, so.
Okay. I just remember a previous administration where things were misestimated.
Yeah.
You remember that too,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
That's why we don't have the electric bonds anymore.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to go there. Okay. Any other questions from anybody else? Please, 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 don't let me be the only one. Somebody else here has to have a question. Okay. So we're going to close that portion of the hearing. It is now 7:38.
If I could again, do I just, our expense is 85%, on our personnel, and really we're public servants here. We provide services every second of every minute of every day. This building never closes, and it's, what I read here recently, I think in the Municipal League's magazine that we get quarterly here, and I believe this is true too. Our public works employees have never been better trained, more knowledgeable. We've always had very skilled departments, as time has gone by, mandated. The amount of education has gone up and up, the training's gone up and up, and I think we see great results from that, so.
All right, very good. We'll make that closing at 7:39. Okay, moving on. Audience asking participation. Anybody in the audience? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people in here, 45 chairs. It's 20% attendance. Come on, people. Come on up.
Remember, state your name. We'll skip the address. We know where you are in 5 minutes.
Patrick Ormond, 2720 Maple Tree Court. Very proud of that. Just wanted to start with a couple thank yous before I hit my major topic. I did want to seriously send a thank you out to the Reading Fire Department and paramedics who took very, very, very good care of me when I had a little fall doing our litter cleanup in Reading a couple weeks ago. Total true professionals. I mean, second to none. I'd hope to never use them again, but what a neat group of people they were. Secondly, I want to send a thank you to Mr. Jeff Wright. He and I have been working together in the parks to implement a little bit of recycling. He's been helping me with the park recycling program, getting those bags up to incinerator lane. So far this summer, we've taken up 30 bags of recycling collected from the parks. We have 3 out of the 4 major parks. Don't have anything going on at Hilltop yet, but we're working on it. We also have collected another 50 or so bags during the 2 summer festivals that we had this summer at Koenig. Mr. Courtney and Mr. Bishop, thank you. We're also a huge help in these holiday weekend collections. Just so much less waste that Reading has sent to the landfills this summer, and something I think we should all be very proud of, especially those people who are using the park recyclers. They're temporary recyclers provided by Hamilton County, certainly with the hope that we maybe get some permanent fixtures there at some point with the grant money that we have. Major topic tonight for me is Rumpke. And for the purpose of council discussion tonight, perhaps, I just want to bring up this topic of Rumpke recycling collection in our city. I think the citizens, many citizens, have looked to hear something about the Rumpke recycling service issues from council, even if perhaps work is being done behind the scenes to fix these issues. I know Mrs. Edichico has made some mention of this issue, as has Mr. Boehner. Most recently, Mr. Bishop made a call to Rumpke and talked in detail with Dean Ferrier. This got Dean Ferrier from Rumpke out here this past Friday, and he actually did a recycling right along with his Rumpke drivers, and I think it was a very eye-opening experience for Mr. Ferrier. First thing he noted was how difficult the route really was, that he forgotten how difficult the Friday route was. And he made a very conservative estimate that he believes only about 25% of people on this Friday route are using our recycling service. And you know, I personally believe that's very likely a result of the frequent misses, and people have really just kind of given up on recycling. Most issues, in fact, seem to occur on the Friday recycling route. I don't hear a ton from the other days of the week. This includes many of the streets down here in the valley, including many of the streets serviced by Rumpke in the alleys. Also, Harvest Lane off of Galbraith Road seems to be missed very often. Approximately 13 weeks, if I remember correctly from talking to a resident on that street. There are also 2 private drives off Hunt Road near the Blue Ash border that haven't been serviced at all regularly. This is actually a Wednesday route issue. But in fact, I have direct communication with Dean Ferrier, and he tells me there have been 8 different work orders placed for these addresses on Hunt Road at the Blue Ash border, which just clearly shows a lack of communication between Rumpke management and its route drivers in Reading. And I imagine this story is the same for many of the residents in the valley and on Harvest Lane. Of course, I am completely in favor of citywide recycling in Reading, and still believe Reading recycling collection is the right thing for our city now and well into the future. And I sympathize with the fact that Rumpke is likely short-handed these days, as most businesses are, but I hope the city can give very specific direction to the residents as to how to best handle the frequently missed recycling pickups. Residents call Rumpke when they are missed, and they are promised to return within 48 hours, which for our Friday route residents, in reality is 96 hours due to the weekend. By then, honestly, the miss is most often forgotten and the resident tries again on Friday.
Hate to do it, but you gotta cut you off at 5 minutes. However, council, go ahead. Mr. Bain.
5 more minutes.
So is that a motion? So Mr. Boehner makes a motion to
I'll
extend
second it.
time. Second, I heard it from Mr. Tomlin first. All in favor?
Aye.
I literally had one
Continue.
paragraph. All right. So anyway, my question would be, can the residents call the city for refunds? You know, I don't personally actually know. As the city, as the customer, I know residents can't get their refunds directly from Rumpke. Me personally, I believe that the city probably should pause collection of the $4 fee for a specified period of time, such that the city and Rumpke can get things straightened out. And the city should likely negotiate its own refund from Rumpke. Maybe it was too fast to turn around to have Rumpke make such a giant leap, as the contract, I believe, was approved for this new garbage recycling contract in late October of last year. However, we're 7 months into this contract now, and I do believe Rumpke should have things fixed by now, but the problems are still very repetitive. And I do hope that we can get things fixed as soon as possible, and I truly thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ormond. Any questions for Mr. Ormond? I saw Mr. Boehner's hand first.
We
Mr.
talked
Goodrich.
a little bit about this, I think, in a couple committee meetings. And Patrick's not here, but Boom, maybe we can have the Rumpke rep come out to one of our off-council meetings, like the 4th Tuesday meeting, and answer questions, because the whole program could get flipped sideways if we don't handle this correctly. People are tired of putting recycling out. There's a gentleman up on Hunt Road near Maplewood had his trash out there at least 4 days last week. And it ends up all over the place. It ends up in the street. It ends up in the yard. So people, I've heard from enough people, they're upset. They're not recycling. They're still being charged for it. But I mean, we need to talk to Rumpke about fulfilling their contract. I mean, I know there's problems with drivers, but everybody has that problem. They have to fix that problem. But what are they gonna do in the meantime? A refund is a great idea, but you know, hopefully those people have called Rumpke. There's a call log that we've got some way to verify that this person was missed 3 weeks in a row, so we can give them their $4 back.
Well, and Dean can verify any address, any resident. Again, I just happened to come across those residents on those private drives at the Blue Ash border, and you know, the women told me, hey, you know, they just don't pick up our recycling. And Dean said 8 different work orders. Now, the only reason that truck even honestly went that way last week is because he was coming through Maplewoods. I stopped him and said, by the way, do you take a ride on Hunt Road and go up to the Blue Ash border? Because I didn't even know there were houses up there. So they're not being routed properly. Management is not handling it properly. And this is a really good recycling driver. The guy helps me load up all the extras I collect from the streets and some of the cardboard and stuff that I'm getting. But he just honestly did not know to take a right and go to the Blue Ash border. Just didn't know.
Mr. Bishop.
As I mentioned to you, I had a nice long diplomatic talk with Dean Ferrier last Monday, and I just explained that this is what they do. it's all they do, and I explained to him that we've reached a point where we need a solution, and I told him it was not acceptable to just let this go on. That I wanted him to come up with a solution and convey that solution to us to let us know what his plan of attack was to make it happen. And I was glad to see that all of a sudden on Friday he's out there at least making the rounds. I drove Harvest Lane, I drove the alleys on Friday to double check what was going on, and happy with the results on Friday. I explained to him that I would be making those rounds again, just to make sure that it is being picked up. So I hope that bringing it to their attention and having him go out on the route, I hope that was a good part of the solution, and that it continues. We just have to keep our eye on it, and I'll stay in contact with
And
him
I
to make
think
sure.
that's what needs to happen, is
Yeah.
that they've got to hear from you or the mayor or Mr. Ross, that, you know,
Mhm.
don't think they want to talk to me anymore.
Well,
And I
it's
realize
not
I
a,
can't-
it's just a situation where he, I mean, that's his job. And that's the job of Rumpke to pick it up, and they do this all the time. And he explained some issues, and I said, those are nice, but we need to solve the problem. And he's, I was glad to see that he at least came up with a plan to move forward, so.
Yeah, so what's interesting is on Friday, you didn't see anything, and I did put it out on the forum just to see if anybody else saw anything, and nobody did. So it proves they can do it.
Yes.
There was another just resident comment from Hulker that, you know, she had actually talked to the driver, and they said, well, you know, we go down this street, if we don't see any recycling out on that street, we just don't go down it. And, you know, I sent that to Dean, and he said, that is just not what's supposed to happen with Rumpke. So I think he knows exactly what's going on, they need to fix it.
Mrs. Adechico.
I was gonna say that I did send a list of the problem streets to Dean Ferrier and Patrick Ross, and I know Mr. Ross has been talking to Dean to try to get to the bottom of this. I agree that I would like to invite Dean to a meeting to discuss this so we can get to the bottom of this. I think that it should be one of our public meetings, though, either the first or third Thursday, so that the public can be a part of this conversation too, especially the ones that are having issues with the pickup and the routes that are missed. So I am all for inviting him to a meeting if possible.
Same here. He's heard a lot from myself and Patrick as well. And I'm sure he says the same things to us he said to everybody else. He has troubles getting drivers. You know, honestly, you know, in the years I've been involved, you know, we haven't had the problems anywhere near what we've had this year. And again, you know, it's their job to find a solution for it. You know, I think going forward, I think we need to have long conversations about the changes we've made and how they've possibly affected things. And Rumpke's going to have to, like I say, come up with either solutions or alternatives or something. So.
I know a lot of people are paying a lot for garbage in some areas where they're choosing not to recycling because the truck won't come.
Any other?
I'm curious how long that contract with Rumpke is. Is that a year to year?
I think it's a 5-year, I believe is what council passed, I know. They've never been a problem. They've always been an asset to our community. But I know other communities are having trouble with recycling as well. You know, where my wife grew up, they had to disband it. The costs so overwhelmed the benefits. So it isn't just here. And I don't know. You know, one thing's for sure, garbage has to be picked up. And, you know, the day before Memorial Day, you know, both Patrick and you were on the phone to Dean, and I said, I'm getting ready to work a 4-day festival, and I don't want to hear about garbage all weekend. And they were out Friday afternoon on a route up on Thornbridge they were supposed to pick up on a Tuesday. So anyway, I'm all with you, so let's invite him out. I don't know how we'd ever terminate a contract, but anyway. They need to respond.
Any others? Okay, I have one. I have heard stories, not only that recycling is not getting picked up on Harvest Lane, my favorite lane to champion. Yes, I know, and it's coming up again. But also that garbage cans are disappearing. So this is something we probably want to bring up with Mr. Ferrier as well.
That's not just Harvest Lane.
Really?
There was a expensive garbage can that was just taken on Keith Drive. And the resident called and she got 6 months free rental of one of their garbage cans, is the best they could do for her, instead of replacing her $95 garbage can.
That doesn't sound quite right.
Who took it?
Rumpke.
Why?
Good question.
They don't want it.
I don't know. And then, and she had posted something, and then, you know, there were other people that chimed in that said, yeah, they've taken my garbage cans too. And then there are people that have posted that well, I've asked them to, like, I put a sign on it to take the garbage can too, because it was busted or whatever, and they leave it. So I don't know,
Did they see Rumpke take them?
that I'm not 100% sure of. I mean, I don't,
There's people stolen cans before.
So hold on, we're starting to devolve into committee of council. Good discussion to have. Let's have it at council of the whole. Good discussion.
I just wanted to let you know that it's not just Harvest Lane.
Okay. It's happened to me personally, by the way, so I know. Yeah. All right, any other audience participation? Please, come on up.
Oh, I hate when you have that look of dread whenever I walk up here.
Oh, I don't know. You know better than that.
Jennifer Dick. I just wanted to say, we've been missed 14 times, to my count, for recycling on Harvest in the two houses on the corner of Galbraith also, because they put out on Harvest. And then the garbage can that was stolen from Rumpke, they did admit to taking that can. It was valued at about $100. They did say they took it. That's why she got the... and she's not, like she said, she's not the only one. It's happening everywhere. And so they're taking these nice, expensive cans and saying, oh, well, you can lease one of ours and we'll give you a credit. So it doesn't seem quite fair that they're doing that. It doesn't seem legal to me. It seems like theft to me. And then also on Harvest, down by the corner house where Galbraith is, that the one you've worked on, the people on the other side, they put their recycling in their can right there. Well, if people park directly across, it's very hard to get up the street. So I don't know if we can make from the driveway down to the stop sign, no parking, just so people can get, because you know it widens as it goes up further. But if the people on the left side, or I'm sorry, coming up Harvest, if the right side, if they're putting their garbage right there, and then the people that don't live, it's not people that live on Harvest, it's people that live on Galbraith that park up there, but you can't get through. And that could be a reason why we're having trouble getting our stuff picked up, because if there's a car there, it's very difficult to get through. So,
I mean, good chances are Chief Edens is watching. If not, somebody from police department is, but they'll definitely know about it by morning.
yeah, so like I said, just, you know,
Good
down
idea.
at that, I know, I don't know what the rule, 3 feet maybe from the stop sign, you're not supposed to park anyway. But the curbs used to be yellow, but they're gone now, so there's no way for people to know that you're not supposed to park there. So I don't know if something could happen with that. And then, I wasn't for recycling. I mean, I'm not against it, but I wasn't for forcing residents to do it, specifically because my one neighbor isn't able to participate, and Mr. Orman actually paid her first year, I guess to change my mind, maybe, I don't know. But I just feel like it's not really fair that you know, the city voted on it. I don't know why it didn't go on the ballot or what have you, but I had even called Rumpke and said, come and get the recycling can. I've called Patrick Norm many times. I know he's tired of hearing from me. So when they showed up to get my can, he said, you know, what's going on? I said, well, it's been sitting out here for a month. Nobody, you know, bothers to pick it up. And he said, well, if I can get somebody to do it, do you want to keep it? And I said, yeah, sure. So for 4 weeks, they did. I don't know who the guy was, but for 4 weeks, Rumpke did come regular, and then they just stopped again. So, I mean, I feel like they're in breach of contract, and I just don't think it's fair. And I also would like my money back, and I'm sure many people would too.
Well, in a lot of ways, you know, if I had to do it over again, I was not for mandating it citywide either, just simply wasn't. And I think it'd be a lot easier of an issue to address if they weren't picking up my recycling. I simply wouldn't pay it for them. You know, as a middleman with the city here and having 3,500 accounts, I think, you know, collecting and reimbursing becomes a little bit more of a headache. You know, another thing, it's contributed heavily to litter, heavily.
Yeah, I picked up a lot.
Mine wasn't picked up 3 times in the first 3 months. And you know, another just disastrous mistake, those lids on the, first off, they shouldn't have handed out any bins. Should have been all cans. And the cans need to have a latch. 2 of the 3 times mine wasn't picked up, the wind blew it over, and I'm paying 2,000 pickup up and down Hunt Road. it's, I don't know. I think it's something this body needs to discuss deeply into the future. I think individuals would have a lot more control personally, but that's something to be discussed and debated, but.
Well, like I said, I'm all for recycling, and I was happy to drop my recycling off or whatever, but I just like, forcing especially, like I said, my neighbor, she's not able to participate regardless, so, but, it's a service she'll have to pay for even though she'll never be able to use. And so I don't know, I don't think that's fair.
Well, it was a major headache the way it was here at City Hall, because
Yeah.
again, for our clerks out here, on any given month, 10 people might sign up, 10 people might want to be removed. 16 people didn't get picked up. It's getting to be, overwhelming for clerks who are simple middle people. And so, that's why Patrick, in a way, said, if we're going to continue to do it from here at City Hall, it's mandated for everybody. It's on everybody's bill. So we're not, like you say, adding a dozen this month and deleting a dozen next month and trying to keep track of everything in between. I don't know. Going forward, I'd like to see it be on a personal level myself, but that's my 2 cents.
And then the only other thing I had was, I know Katie had made a post about, like homes that are run down or abandoned or whatever, so I didn't know, I was just trying to figure out what was going on. I know we have an exterior maintenance guy, and, I know there's quite a few more blighted properties than we've had in the past, so, I didn't know if we were like short on help, or maybe we could get a volunteer for each ward, or maybe to say, okay, this is what I drove around and saw, to help the city. I don't know.
Well,
But,
Ricky Martin.
some areas look really bad.
Ricky Martin's well aware of them. It's just the process of taking someone's property, isn't simple, and it isn't meant to be simple.
Yeah.
And so, it takes time. It's frustrating, very frustrating for us. But again, taking people's property, personal property rights were huge in the foundation of our country. And it is. It's a difficult thing. Possibly for the first time in many years, we may have money to go ahead and purchase some. I was always told, if you're going to tell somebody their property's condemned and they can't use it, that you got to be ready to purchase it. You just can't sit there and say, hey.
But I'm under the understanding that a lot of these properties are owned by investment companies that aren't even local.
And that's
It's
what
true.
I'm
Yeah.
working on, because like you said, it does seem like there's a lot more, and it's not run-down properties, it's the empty and abandoned ones. We hear about the one on Hunt Road at the bottom of the hill all the time. There's one on Harm, I could probably name them all right now because I've been working on it, but that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of. I know Rick Martin is aware of them, but it does seem, I'm not a fan of going and taking somebody's property, but when it gets to the point like the one on Pearl Street where it's been empty at least 4 years, it caught on fire 2 years ago, it is unsafe. I've walked around, I've taken pictures, it's wide open, you can see spray paint inside in the walls, it's a nuisance. And, for the people that live in the area, that do spend the time and money to upkeep their properties, it's not fair to them either. So I am working on that to see what we can do and why there seems to be such a large number right now, and kind of what we can do. Like you said, there could be money there's grants out there to maybe get some of these taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dick. Anyone else? Audience participation still open. Only two. All righty, seeing no others. Reading of communications. Carla, do you want to read this, or do you?
I got it.
And if I can get Dave, you're the first one to show me you printed it, if you can hold that up for everybody to see. This is what we're talking about on this communication here.
The following chart shows normal traffic speeds on East Galbraith Road. The posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour, yet 95% of vehicles travel at least 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. Most people would think that downhill speeds would be faster than uphill speeds. While logical, it is incorrect. As shown below, uphill speeds are significantly higher than downhill speeds. There is only one explanation for these uphill speeds. It is intentional. Uphill speeders outnumber downhill speeders by roughly 2.24 to 1. In the uphill direction, there is a much longer and straighter segment of road for acceleration, thus explaining the dichotomy. This means that the drivers of the 4 vehicles clocked at 73 miles per hour downhill were really working it. Galbraith Road needs stop signs both directions at Knollcrest and Marycrest, and 1 uphill at Harvest and 1 downhill at Ridgepoint. This should keep the traffic below 45 miles per hour in this 25 mile per hour zone.
I'm looking for a motion to receive and file if somebody will offer that.
Make a motion that we mark this as received and filed.
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Powell, second by Mrs. Kroger to receive and file this communication. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried by voice vote. Discussion on that? Anybody? I know Mr. Powell brought something up. I don't know if you want to talk about that now.
No, I think that's probably more council of the whole.
Council of the whole? Okay, that's fine.
I do. I just know that the police department is aware of this. Because from my understanding, you got the numbers from Chief Edens, is that correct?
Yes, so he sent me the raw data. I had to go through it and make it make sense. And this was the only way I could figure to make it make sense for the most people. Does it make sense to everyone who received a copy?
Yep.
And I will go ahead and see.
Go ahead.
Looking at the data, it was a good analysis, the data, very easy to comprehend. You know, as far as the stop signs and stuff, I think probably the appropriate thing to do would be to have TEC or a traffic consultant look at that stretch and maybe come up with a plan, things we could do to slow down, do some traffic calming in the area and see what the recommendations might be and what exactly that might cost. So I'd like to, sometime in the future, maybe, I don't know, bring up an ordinance or something to hire somebody to take a look at this street. With it being like an arterial, I believe when we redid Galbraith in the past, I believe we got some money from the county for that. And I wonder if maybe through the engineer's office, there may be some support available as well to help with that, so.
Would the county not, isn't that a county road? Wouldn't the county have to do?
It is a county road. However, in discussions that I've had with Mr. Stevenson previously, the greatest extent we can go to as a city on the county road is to put in stop signs. The next step up would be a traffic light, a lighted traffic signal, and that would be the county.
That was my question, if it being a county road, if we were allowed to just put in stop signs without going through all that.
Any others? All right, moving along. Guest speakers, we have none scheduled. Executive session, none scheduled. Any reason for one? Seeing none. Legislative session, reading of resolutions, we have none of those. Reading of ordinances, we have 5. Let's do number 1, please, Carla.
The following budget for the calendar year beginning January 1st, 2023 has been adopted by council and is hereby submitted for consideration for the Hamilton County Budget Commission.
I'll make a motion to suspend the 3rd reading.
Second.
Ooh, tough call there. Was it Mr. Bishop or was it Mr. Boehner? Mr. Bronner? Too close, okay. So, motions to suspend the rules requiring the 3rd reading by Mrs. Edichico, seconded by Mr. Bronner. Roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Boehner?
Yes.
Mr. Tommen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroger?
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico?
Yes.
7 yes, the rule is suspended.
Make a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Bronner,
Second.
second by Mrs. Edichico. No, was it Ms. Kroger? Sorry. I gotta have my ears checked. Roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Boehner?
Yes.
Mr. Tommen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroger?
Yes.
Mrs. Edichico?
Yes.
7 yes, the Ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number?
2022-21.
Thank you. Okay, the next four, we're gonna, because they were sent in less than 24 hours prior to the meeting, we need a vote to include them in the agenda for this meeting. So we're looking for a motion to do that.
I'm gonna make a motion. The only two we need to really discuss or vote on will be the two spending money. The one taking the money out of the CIC account, and the other one to put the capital money for the service department and street curb, the street maintenance account have to be redone and give to Dave. I made too many mistakes.
So are you making a motion to read only the items on the agenda that are numbers 3 and 4?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Tomlin. Voice vote, we'll go with voice vote on that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so let's read number 3, please.
An ordinance authorizing the city administration to purchase a used chipper for the service department at a cost not to exceed $60,000.
Before we get too far, I need to amend that to $90,000. I got a quote late today from the service department, and $86,382 is the number for that, because these other numbers are quotes that were given to the service department back in March and April.
So you're making a motion?
Yes.
So we have a motion by Mr. Boehner to amend the ordinance to read $90,000 instead of $60,000. Is there a second?
Discussion.
Yep.
So that's 90,000 for a used chipper?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have a price on a new one?
I don't have a price on a new one. The one that they wanted to get was gonna be $40,000, and the municipality has not turned it in yet, so they can't wait any longer. In fact, they've got another price on a new leaf machine. They're still waiting on that price. So we may still need to buy a leaf machine before we get into September and October.
And then further discussion, I also noticed, does not appear there's an emergency clause on this, so it would go into effect 30 days after.
Right, right. I anticipated this not passing tonight, so if you want to do a first reading, we could do that.
I'd feel comfortable doing a first reading with the price increase and then to see the pricing on a new chipper.
Okay.
So we still have a motion to amend pending a second. Is there a second?
Second to go ahead and amend it.
So we have a motion and a second, motion by Mr. Boehner, second by Mr. Powell to amend the ordinance to read $90,000 instead of $60,000. Roll call, please.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Bronner?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Boehner?
Yes.
Mr. Tomlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Kroger?
Yes.
Mrs. Zetichico?
Yes.
Okay. First reading only then, Mr. Boehner?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so let's look at number 4, please, when you get there.
An ordinance authorizing the city administration to purchase a valve exerciser for the water department at a cost not to exceed $85,000.
I want everybody to pay attention on this because we're taking this money out of the sewer service fee account. Historically, any water department equipment will come out of the sewer service fee fund if it's available, instead of coming out of the 340 account.
Can I make a comment to that?
Yep.
You know, from Patrick and I believe Sabrina before this meeting, you know, your other one came out of the 340 capital fund. They prefer that this one also come out of 340. They're not against transferring money from sewer service fee to capital, but since it's a capital purchase, they thought it would be cleaner for the books. That, I believe, was Sabrina.
Is there sufficient funds in the capital account to
About
do
se-
this without the transfer
There's about
first?
$750,000 in that account. I don't have it right in front of me, but it's at least 750,000.
According to the June 30 report, we had 725,000 in the sewer service fee account, 827,
Right.
and we're 417 in the 340.
And again, I think Sabrina's comment was, she isn't against it coming out of 340. She also wasn't against it being transferred from sewer service fee. If there's enough money already in capital, let it be. She just said she didn't mind.
I can just rework it till we change, we take the money out of sewer service fee, put in 340. Will that work?
It would just require another ordinance to
Right.
do that, the transfer ordinance from 827 to 340.
So, Mr. Boehner, do you want to,
First reading?
okay, first reading only, and make changes, and then we'll bring those back next time and adopt the changes? Is that what you want to do?
The other two ordinances that we're not going to talk about tonight, one is goes back to last year when the Knives and Weisskopf property was sold. From what I understand, the CIC is holding $392,000, and they only need $10,000. I've asked this a couple times. I think everybody's in agreement that money, $380,000 ought to come back out of the CIC account, which is not something that's shows up in any of our reports. But that $380,000 ought to go back to the 340 account, because when that project was started, cleaned up down there, money was taken out of 340 account to start that project back in, I think, 2005, 2006. The other ordinance, all we're doing is putting any money the service department generates through truck rentals, scrap metal proceeds, repairs to traffic devices, anything that the service department gets back in revenue will go into the street maintenance fund as a backup, so that they always have some money to buy capital equipment. For a lot of years, what happens is, not this year, but many years, that once the police department buys their 2 or 3 cars out of the 340 account, the service department has to take the morsels that are left over in the 340, which in some years they didn't get anything. They need something to fall back on. That's why this year, it looks like they're spending a lot of money in the service department, but we're really not. They've got a much longer list. The list was 5 years old when I got here in January. But I'll straighten these up, so I'll have all these straightened up and get it to Dave and get them back by the August meeting.
The
Well, for every-
discussion.
Okay.
On this, what kind of annual revenue are you anticipating those to generate for the service department?
I have no idea. It won't be enough to cover all their capital, but I think it's a way to let that build up and not use it for a period of time, and use it in emergency situations when there's not enough money. We had to buy 2 trucks early this year because we had one pickup truck without a front fender. We had another 2.5-ton dump truck that didn't have any body. They had signs holding the body together. So we had to buy those trucks, which they both got about 2 months ago. That's how severe some of his equipment's gotten. Some of the other equipment is so old, like a leaf machine. They're 30 years old. They're all past their lifetime. Nobody makes parts for them. Our guys are trying to find people to make parts for some of this stuff just to keep them operating.
Does anybody?
I know the need is great. I would like to have some kind of idea how much we anticipate is going into that, So, and how that may go against, future needs, and maybe even look at other revenue sources or something else to see to it that is properly funded.
Well, see, I don't think that the service department will be able to tell you how many, they might be able to guesstimate how many trucks get rented.
But just take a, you're not gonna be able to tell, but take a average over the last 3 years, how many they do a year.
Well, there's a traffic control device in front of the library that city electrician has told me he replaces on average 3 to 4 times a year at a cost of $8,000 per occurrence. Money comes out of their operations for that repair. But yet when the insurance company or the resident pays for that repair, that money goes in the earnings fund, general fund, I should say, not an earnings fund, it goes in the general fund. Well, that money should go back to the service department. They're the ones that generate that bill, that repair.
No, I'm not disagreeing, I just like some numbers, so.
Right.
If we rented 4 trucks a week for 50 weeks a year, we're looking at about 20 grand, just
Okay.
in truck rentals.
Right.
And then they're scrapping. I mean, I would be surprised if they got 5, probably under 10 grand. I'd say 30,000 would be an optimistic estimate on what the
Okay.
service department would make on that yearly.
Gotcha.
See, the problem,
It would add up.
the other problem with renting the trucks is and they've talked about maybe raising the cost of renting a truck because people are told not to throw air conditioners, refrigerators, and that, when they do that, they have to, service department has to bring somebody in and get all the Freon out before they can scrap it. Well.
And are we back
that-
billing?
Huh?
Are we back billing the
No.
people that rented the truck?
There
You
should
can
be
try.
some
It
No,
should
you're,
be.
but
You could
then you're
try.
ended up
Hold on,
making
hold on,
like,
no. Now we're getting into council of the whole again.
But I mean,
Good discussion to have.
Okay.
The mayor has raised his hand twice, and he's been
Okay.
cut off twice.
Okay.
Let's hear what you got.
You know, just administration supports taking the money from CIC and going to the 340 fund, which
Okay.
supports our service department heavily over the years. So just, well, that was being discussed.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find some numbers for you, Dave, but I think that Andy's right. It's gonna be, probably $30,000 to $35,000 a year at best. And you're talking one pickup truck.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Ordinance reading is over, correct? We have no more. All right. Moving on, miscellaneous business. Any miscellaneous business?
I just,
Oh,
go ahead.
Ms. Edechico raised her hand first, then Ms. Kroger,
Just
then Mr. Thomas.
real quick, I just wanted to say that I had a great Laws and Contracts meeting on the 12th, and I plan on having another Laws and Contracts Committee meeting on Tuesday, July 26th at 6 PM. I believe we said that time works.
What time was that?
6 PM,
Yep.
On what day?
the 26th, next Tuesday.
26th. Yes.
Okay, and that will be here in council chambers. I'll give a full report on both those meetings at our August 2nd council meeting. That's all I have.
Okay. I did talk to Mr. Brooks today, a regular discussion last week. And I talked to Chief Owens again tonight. There's legislation in place.
Right.
And I said to all of them, can you please get me a copy, and Katie a copy, of what the legislation is? If we have to update the legislation, if we have to light a fire on someone that's not doing, I think everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, but there's not enough being pushed.
Yeah, somewhere it drops.
And so I think, we need to see what the legislation is.
Yeah, I talked
Find
to
out.
Dan Brooks today too. and-
Otherwise, you and I are just gonna be chasing people around.
All right, Ms. Kroger.
mine is just a reminder of the National Night Out, which is Tuesday, August the 2nd, from 5 to 8 at Koenig Park. It's a pretty cool experience. If you haven't been, I highly recommend, bring the kids down. They have, all of our police cars, fire trucks, they have Hamilton County SWAT. They usually bring Amber Lee's canine dog down for a demonstration. So yeah, come out and support our police department, and again, that's August 2nd, from 5 to 8 at Koenig Park.
This is a
Tom.
council night, right?
Sorry, what was it?
Council night.
Yes, it
Yes.
is a council night, yeah.
It's just brought to my attention right at the beginning of the meeting that one of our fine lifeguards rescued a child today from drowning, and just want to give a shout out. I wish I had the name of our young hero, but thanks to all our people who are looking out for us.
Okay, so we had some very robust discussion that probably goes to committee of council. That's, we can adjourn and go straight to committee the whole if you like to do that, or we can go to adjournment. What is the sense of council?
I'd like a few dates to update on people if I can. Just
Okay, go ahead, miscellaneous business, right?
a few more. I think there's ladies' night at the pool this Thursday, July 21st, 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. We always mention farmers market, every Friday, 4 to 7, corner of Vine and Reading Road. First day of school for our Reading Community Schools is August 17th for junior, senior high. Their starting time's 7:20 a.m. and they end at 2:10 p.m. Again, August 17th, first day of school. The next day, August 18th, grades 1 through 6 start. Their starting time's 8:10 a.m., ends at 2:30 p.m. for those grades. And then pre-K and K start on Monday, August 22nd, so that'd be the first day for everyone. We had our superintendent of schools here today. We wanted to introduce him to our department heads, and we had a nice discussion about traffic here again and safety concerns and safety issues at school. I think we have an awesome new superintendent here, great guy. I think he's going to do great things, and we told him we're here to work with him every day, and he said the same in return. So anyway, a lot discussed there, but first day, August 17th for people, if you can steer clear of our schools in the morning and afternoon, you'd probably be doing yourself and a lot of other people a good favor. First day of school for MND is August 22nd. They start at 7:45 a.m. Judy Gerwe sent me their closing time. I think it's 2:45 p.m. I'll double check that.
Yes.
Yeah, 2:45. So I had a conversation with her. St. Peter and Paul Academy's first day is August 24th. So again, the important reminder to everybody, always please slow down as you drive, and especially with school starting, and we beg people to, so many problems could be avoided. People just simply slow down, but keep an eye out for pedestrians, especially our young students. Our American Legion's Ladies Auxiliary will host a Taste of Reading at Caney Park August 27th, noon to 11 p.m. Great food, drinks, entertainment, great crafts. Please come out and support them. They work very, very hard. Again, August 27th at Caney Park. Our antique car show will be on September 11th. This year will be at our Reading Community Schools. We can't use the Port Authority's property anymore. Hopefully they're getting closer and closer to building. I know they just got over a $5 million grant for cleanup, and hopefully that'll start moving forward, quicker rather than slower. We will have updates on that very, very soon. Also, our Reading Bridal District's Fall in Love event will be on Benson Street, September 21st, 6 to 9 p.m. Benson will be closed probably from 5:30 to at least 10, so we'll keep you updated on that as well.
Very good. Any questions for the mayor? No?
I know I was invited to a meeting there, August 27th. It is August.
It's August 30th, I believe 8 a.m., and that's going to be really a new traffic pattern for that area.
7:30,
In the last couple of years.
7:30 a.m.
7:30.
So people can hear again. You want to repeat that? It's August 30th, Cincinnati Classical School opens up at the old Our Lady of Sacred Heart School, August 30th. Good. I was been playing phone tag with Kim Hawk there, and so.
There's a lot of buses. There's buses driving that there now, so I appreciate the service department getting the no parking signs up on Siebenthaler, but there'll be a lot of traffic the first week there.
First couple weeks, school is always tough, always. When we had 3 different campuses for Reading schools, it's always tough. So please, people, be patient and try to avoid the areas if you can.
So are you saying 73 is too fast and then 25?
73 is always too fast, just about anywhere for me, other than maybe the highway, you know, it's like, geez. You know, people do, just simply, they need to slow down.
So let's roll into a committee of council meeting, because there was some back and forth discussion. Mr. Boehner, I'd like for you to kick it off
Okay.
with the moving of the various buckets of money into various accounts. If you can explain that and why you're interested in these two ordinances that didn't get read.
The first one is to buy the water valve exerciser machine. This is something that's really needed. When they fix a water main break, for instance, a lot of times they have to turn off the water to the whole neighborhood because a lot of our water valves don't work. This machine will also go down, they'll be able to tell which have lead pipe coming in to these valves or going to the homes as well. Because it could be mandated by state of Ohio in the next couple of years, how many connections are with a lead-based pipe. But the money would come, the 340 capital fund, the sewer service fee fund, we take $85,000 out of the sewer service fee fund, which is number 827, and we put in the 340 capital fund. That's what Sabrina's asking for. The other, and I've got a question on it because I'm,
You know, if
on
I
the
could,
chipper.
Bob, administration is all for those purchases, and we would have been all for them tonight if those ordinances get
well,
cleaned up.
I didn't know Patrick was gone. I sent him an email last Thursday, I think, to see if he, because I was tied up, I couldn't get these done. And since, obviously, I found out today he was gone all week.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to put these together Sunday night, Monday night. But the second is to buy a wood chipper for the service department. And I'm not sure it's a used chipper, I'll find that out. But it's $90,000, and that will come out of the 340 account. The street maintenance account would be the main capital account for the service department. We'd still be using the 340 account for them, but if the 340 account gets depleted sometime throughout the year and they need to buy a truck or whatever, there'll be money hopefully in the street maintenance account to cover that. And the last thing is to get $380,000 out of the CIC account that was money that they got for the Nyson property, and that would be transferred into the 340 account, which is where the money came from, to start that cleanup of that site. We don't need that $380,000 right now, but we'll probably use it for next year for the service department and the police department. So I'll have 5 ordinances next council meeting. After I get them done this week, get them to Dave. Dave will peruse them and say yea or nay.
Just, again, Bob, I believe, again, 340's used, you know, for our service department, so street maintenance.
Right.
You know, I think 4 employees, you know, are paid out of street maintenance, so, you know, we can't just end street maintenance as it is, and.
I'm
Like-
not changing names. I'm just saying that it'll be, any money generated by the service department will go into the street maintenance fund.
Okay,
And we'll
because
let
there
that
was
money-
an ordinance that talked about renaming,
Renaming,
so
yeah.
that's scrapped?
Yeah, right,
Okay.
right.
So I've seen some quizzical looks that we have to remember 4 people on council have never been on council before.
Right,
So they may not understand the pots of money you're talking about. If you could give a little description of that, that'd be helpful.
Well, the CIC is not something that we have in our reports. That's a different unknown budget because we don't see CIC budget, all right? The 340 account is the main capital account for the police department and the service department. The sewer service fee fund is the money that MSD allows us to keep as our reward for collecting sewer bills, okay? And that money can be used for water department needs, and we use it for a lot of other things, but specifically, we try to use it for retirement accounts. But historically, we always used money there to buy water department needs. And this water exerciser is a big deal because it can do so many things. And well, in the long term, it'll save us money because we can turn off a valve and exercise valves on a regular basis so that all our fire hydrants will work because the valves will work. And two, when you replace a water main in the middle of the night, you don't have to run around and find a valve you can turn off. You'll be able to, because you've exercised the valves, you'll be able to turn it off fairly easily with the machine. Now, I know there's gonna be some problems because when you start exercising these valves that haven't been exercised in 10, 20, 30 years maybe, a lot of those valves are gonna break. So they know that there's gonna be a lot of valves they're gonna be replacing. But over a period of time, we'll be a lot better off for it, and we'll be probably money ahead because we won't be taking so long to repair a water main. We'll have to turn off the whole neighborhood. That's the gist of where I'm talking about, where the money's coming from.
I know John Vance talked about maybe doing a quarter of them a year in the city so as not to exercise them all in 1 year and have a whole bunch of broken valves. That way they can kind of mitigate the cost, because every time you find a broken valve, there's more cost involved in getting that fixed, so.
But he also said the state of Ohio is gonna, at some point in the near future, require cities to fill out a report on how many lead pipes they have in their city. This valve will show what kind of pipe you got coming in to that valve, what kind of pipe is going into the house. That's a big deal, I think, for a lot of people, especially in the valley, that still have lead pipes.
I will say though, if those lead pipes are undisturbed,
Yep.
they typically have a pretty good coating of the calcium or whatever deposits in the water. They tend to line those pipes pretty well, so as not to alarm a whole bunch of people that
Right.
there's very little
Well,
damage if they stay undisturbed.
The Waterworks does put chemical in to prevent the leaching of any lead out of those pipes. They've done that for years.
So this thing's more than just a thing that turns the valve, it checks all this stuff at the same time?
Yeah. Did you check your mailbox? There's some really good
Just
information
as
about that piece.
a member of the CIC, you were talking about the money that is currently held in the CIC.
Right.
That was actually one of the things we discussed at our last meeting, is getting that return. And then also the CIC, I believe, is gonna ask for some money to fund the CIC as well out of
Well,
that.
that's why I'm asking for 380. That will leave 12,000 in that account.
Okay.
I'm on board with 3 out of the 4. I'm really curious about the chipper. I don't know a whole lot about them, but we heard 3 different numbers miles apart.
That's why I have to get more information.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting a price, but I can't tell if it's used or new.
The original number was that 60,000.
Yeah.
And he said he just got an updated quote today.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, 30 grand is a lot to increase over, what's it been, 8 weeks since we had the first
Right.
service meeting? I mean, I'm not really surprised by an increase in price, but $30,000 is a lot.
You know, Shelley, I've got my paperwork from that first meeting, the wish list, so to speak, and that piece of equipment on here is listed as a mulcher, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mulcher, and there was no dollar figure associated with that one on this list.
They still don't have a price on that. The stick-it note had waiting on a price for a leaf machine, which is the mulcher he's talking about.
Well,
They
it's
don't
got
have a
it's got a
price.
line item for a mulcher, then the next is a new leaf machine. And that was 30 used and 60 new. The mulcher is, like I say, there's no dollar figure associated on this
Yeah.
particular
Is this
list.
one machine that does mulching, chipping, and leafing?
It sounds to me like it's separate, to be
No,
honest
I
with you. Now,
think
if we
they're
can find one
separate.
that did all
Are they
that.
separate machines? Okay.
Because it would be a leaf vac truck, and then it would be like the chipper that we have
Goes with-
now.
okay,
They're
gotcha.
separate
So the
now.
whole system is
Those are
what
separate.
No, they're still looking at separate.
Right, the leaf vac can only pick up leaves and
Leaves.
very small
Right.
branches, twigs, I guess, so to speak.
If you get those questions, Patrick, I'll tell you this, Daryl Courtney and his crew look into things like none other.
Yeah.
And they research things very, very well. Daryl's as tight as,
I've got a series of questions. I'll have more information.
if you want, we could have a service department member too. You know, we're not against that, you know.
Well, we had a service meeting last week. Shelley couldn't make it, but
Last Tuesday.
we had a pretty good meeting and we were in agreement. But then things changed when I got this price sheet here. It doesn't say what's new or used.
Right.
That's
Nothing's
the
going
part
down.
I'm struggling with.
My only thing was with the trucks, with the truck rentals. So when you're talking about the air conditioners, refrigerators, so from what the guys were saying was that when they have to bring somebody in to empty those, they're literally making like $20 on a truck rental from people putting those in there. And are they back charging? No, they're not. Should they be back charging? Yes, they should. Because it's, when you pick up the key, or not pick up the keys because they delivered, but when you fill out for that truck, it gives you a list of everything that can and cannot go in there. And if they're not gonna listen, they're gonna violate what needs to go in there, then they need to be held responsible.
Yeah, I agree totally. I mean, that's,
Which I know is then probably more work for the clerks.
Well, I mean, is that something you can just add to the rental paperwork? You know, do you have to pass an ordinance to get that done, to put teeth in that?
I think it's already on the paperwork. I've rented a truck myself a couple of
Well, it
times.
says
It
don't
is, I
throw 'em in there,
wonder-
but does it say,
I wonder if we could do a refundable deposit, which again, is still gonna be more work for the clerks, but if you get their money up front, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna be more likely to not put those things in there.
So let's find out from the clerks, might get something good for you to do, what they think would work. But let me suggest this too. Back when I was on civil service, we had an issue with people not showing up for tests, especially police officer tests, which bothered me. So what we did is we said, okay, you're gonna put down, I think it was $10 at the time, which you get back if you show up for the test. If you don't show up, you don't get it back because we have to pay for those tests. So maybe that's an option to look at too.
so get their money up front, charge them $200, and you get $100 back? and
Yeah, something
everything's
like that,
Yeah.
yeah. If there's nothing objectionable in there, like a refrigerator, it needs to have the coolant drained professionally, and there's a charge for that.
Tire disposal.
Tires is the other one, yeah.
Cars, the other one, yes.
And then, but you could also, I don't know what they do with the metals, they could take that to a scrapyard once
Yeah.
it's discharged.
Yeah, then you start
Yeah.
competing with the price of those driveway dumpsters too, and then people won't be renting trucks.
And they gotta be taken apart, and there's not a whole lot of scrap value in some of that stuff.
Exactly.
If,
Hey,
if,
it's worth the discussion, and Bob, you questioned Daryl about it, so why? You know, it's more than just the clerks, it's the service department.
Whatever's most efficient for the department to follow through with, would be the way to go.
Bet they have a good explanation for you.
yeah, I'd
Motion to-
like to, at our, go ahead. Sorry.
I defer, go.
Okay, at our committee meeting with Katie, we had kind of started talking about the demolition of condemned properties and whatnot on that, and I had spent some time kind of searching the city code, and I was having trouble coming up with, I was just searching keywords and not finding it, what I was, exactly what I was looking for. So I actually found a section of code from another city in Ohio that's, it's kind of it's in Mahoning County, kind of a similar size to Reading, roughly 10,000, city of Struthers. And I printed that out, so
Great.
I was gonna give you a copy of that and just
Okay.
kind of look. I think it would, and it sounds like they have the same form of government that we do
Okay.
as well. So I think it might be something to take a look at, and, maybe this, if we don't already have something on the books, this is something we could look into.
Yeah, according to Dan Brooks, I talked to him today, and he said they basically follow the I guess what he meant would be the Ohio Revised Code regarding condemning properties and the process they follow. So I did get some information about him, about that process from him. But there seems to be a spot where even if a property gets condemned, then nothing seems to happen. I know the one on Hunt Road has been condemned for years and nothing's happened with it. So that's what I was talking to him about, and he's gonna get some information, he said, and get back to me, because I'd like to see what we need to do to kind of push that further instead of letting them sit and become a danger, and not just, more than a nuisance, really, property values and whatnot, so.
We know the two biggest, by the way, Nivison property could have sat for years and years. Homeless people there, water main breaks there, glass being destroyed there. I say, homeless people getting hurt there. $2.3 million grant, the chemical plant could have sat for years and years. So it isn't like we've sat here and not addressed them. It's just, personal property rights. And we're all for,
So
any
let me
ideas
ask you
have.
this. You remember the house that burned down at Knollcrest, right? That Galbraith Knollcrest burned down. That house got taken down. I'm not sure what mechanisms had to be activated for that to happen, but I know something happened. What happened there?
At Knollcrest, again, I'll look into that, so I'm not misstating here, but.
For best memory, how did that happen?
But quite possibly the property owner.
I was
I'm
gonna
not
say
so sure that.
probably insurance.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that Standard Textile didn't purchase that, but I'll look back into that one. But the shame for a lot of people, they're losing values in their homes. I mean, we lost, up on 4th Street, we had a house sit for years and years, it was worth nothing to the family by the time it got resolved, but the guy moved down into the hills of Kentucky and disappeared and wouldn't sell it, and by the time they got rid of it, it wasn't worth anything to the family.
One of the issues pops up, Bo, and I'm not sure this happens all these cases, but I know in some cases, mortgage companies and even banks like Fifth Third, I know Fifth Third owns at least one of these properties. And mortgage companies will hold on to them too. But it's a tax write-off for them because they're taking a $150,000 tax write-off on a property, but yet it's not worth $20,000 if that. Literally, because it's falling apart. It's fallen in on itself. And until you get somebody that wants to buy it to get it away from them, I couldn't sell the one down there, different one, one on Pearl was right next to Afy. I couldn't sell it because I couldn't get anybody, if Fifth Third would call me back. And then they want to charge me, I think it's $16 or $18 to talk to somebody. I said, I'm not doing that. I have my client go somewhere else in my house. This is stupid.
These
And I think
properties
at that
pad their
point-
portfolio.
Right,
Is what
right,
they do.
yeah.
We've
But I
got
think
one
at
on
that
Thornridge,
point,
that
What's that?
goes well over
they're
there.
in violation of our building codes and whatnot too,
Right.
which means some fines and
Well,
that should be issued.
a real quick story. It was a contested will. 5 people contested the will. The 2 lawyers were involved. They both talked to me. So 5 people still own part of the shares. But they couldn't pay off the mortgage, so Fifth Third took the mortgage away from them. And they were sitting on it.
Mr. Tomlin, you were holding back.
Just felt like everything was winding down. I was gonna make a motion.
I've got one more question.
All right, Ms. Kroger says she's got one more thing, and then we'll hear that motion.
Who do we contact to update our city ordinances? Like if we go to the website and we want to look up an ordinance, they've only been updated till 2019.
Is that all American legal? Because I know Patrick had sent some, starting in 2020, but I don't know if they've been updated through American Legal.
Call him and see where it stands.
Okay.
Please.
I have one question.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
Mr.
comment, actually.
Go ahead.
You mentioned building codes. I'm concerned about the number of houses that are being gutted where dumpsters full of 2x4s are being brought out. So there's structural work going on, and there's no building permits posted anywhere. And I've seen at least probably 4 or 5 of them up on the hill, so.
You sure there's not termite remediation?
Oh, no, these are, they're gutting the job and
Is
putting new
this-
doors and stuff. They're for rentals, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not like a fire dam, because I know there's
No, no fire damage. These are actually being redone.
When
Some
you s-
cases, it's pretty obvious who bought them, so
When you see addresses, get them to us.
I have.
All
I've-
means.
I've
Okay.
I
pulled
mean,
them,
can you
yeah.
tear down and move a wall without a permit inside your house, or if you get into plumbing, certainly you need a permit?
I don't even think you can
You're-
repaint without a permit.
Yeah, there's certain things you can do and certain you can't do. It mostly comes down to whether, like for structural work, it comes down to whether it structurally impacts the.
If it needs an
Right.
inspection, it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. But if it's going to be for commercial use, like a rental property, then it's more important than if you're living in it yourself.
Mr. Thomas?
We're all looking at you.
Motion to adjourn, sir.
Second.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Thomas, second by Mr. Boehner. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, have a good night, everybody.